Hello. Hey Samira. Hey Zoe. Welcome.
Hi.
How are you doing today?
Good.
Awesome.
How
So
are
I
you?
guess I'm doing well. We're all doing great. Thank you for coming. And while we wait for a few minutes for other people to join, I guess we'll start off with an icebreaker question. So what are y'all looking forward to learning in today's event?
Um, I'm sorry. Maybe the connection is unstable. So
Yeah,
like,
I'll repeat my question. So, what are you looking forward to learn in today's workshop?
oh, okay. So I watched the Figma basic video on the
Great.
YouTube, and
Mm-hmm.
I just wanna learn more about a web developer. Like, yeah, is um like to like for my career path, like I want to know if this area really fit me or not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. For people who just joined, we're curious to know what are you looking forward to learn today. You can put your answers in the chat as well. That is great, Kimberly. I think you will definitely learn quite a lot about what all Figma can do, and it's really quite great. Figma has a lot more capabilities than we did in Figma Basics. So definitely we will be
Awesome.
talking about
Very
that.
excited. Yeah.
Okay, maybe I can get started. So hi, everyone. Thanks for being here today. We're really excited to be doing the second part of the Figma series. So Figma Advanced will be talking about more advanced features that you can use in Figma to efficiently manage your workflows and designs. Um, so let me start off with a little bit of an introduction about us. My name is Parumita, and I'm the lead intern for the web design team here at CWIT. And I'm also a second year graduate student in the Human Computer Interaction and Design program. I've been using Figma for almost 3 years now. So I really enjoy working in it and really excited to do this event today. Um, I'll pass over to Fatima now.
Hi everyone, I'm Fatima Rafiki. I am a second year graduate student pursuing a master's degree in human computer interaction and design. Same as Paramita. So excited to see you all here. Last summer, I interned at Juniper Networks as a UX designer. We were at that point migrating from Sketch to Figma because Figma is the new collaboration tool for most of the companies. We have had so many migrations, and it is totally worth it. And this fall, I'll be joining Juniper as a UX designer. And I work as a web design intern at Cebit, and I'm so happy to see you all again at the Figma Advanced event. Over to you, Eve.
So, hi everyone, my name's Ibe, and I study in the undergraduate school majoring in comprehensive design and interactive and digital multimedia. So, I've actually just learned how to use Figma not long ago. So, I'm also learning more about Figma along with everyone here. So, I'm really excited to be learning more in this workshop today.
Awesome. Thank you for the introductions. And just to introduce CWIT a little bit, our mission here at CWIT is to empower all of you to be leaders in technology and to be able to use tech no matter what career path you're pursuing. So for that, we do conduct a lot of different events, and a lot of our student teams conduct events on coding and web design and other things like social media. So you're happy to join our community, you can sign up for our mailing list, and we'll put some links in the chat where you can connect with us and keep updated with our upcoming events. So without further ado, let's get started. These are the four things that we will be covering in today's event. The first one is community and plugins. So we'll talk a little bit about that, followed by Figma components. And then finally, we'll jump to auto layout and prototyping and animation. This might not seem very in depth, or you might not understand a few of these, but as we go into the each of these things, you will definitely learn more. So let's get started. The first thing that I want to talk about is the community tab on Figma. So basically, Figma community is an open source space where different creators and designers publish their design files and plugins. So basically, you can use any other designer's creations and use those designs to make your own designs. This is really helpful because Figma community has a lot of UI kits and design systems. It also has a lot of illustrations that you can use, and these are all free to use and open source. So it really helps you use these components and fast pace your design work. And it also looks a lot more professional because these are really high quality files. The second one is plugins. So similar to community page, plugins are kind of like third-party integrations, and you can add them for free, install it in your Figma account, and then you can directly use it within your files. Also, one of the advantages that plugins provide is they help automate tasks and they make the workflows even more efficient. So I will dive into my Figma file for a second and show you around. So on the left, you will see a community tab, and here you will explore so many different files available. So maybe I'll jump into Figma iOS UI kit. So as you can see here, there are already created components and designs for you to use here. You can preview them over here in templates, zoom them and see. So they already have these created for you, and you don't have to create these things from scratch if you need them for a design. So when you want to use them, you simply duplicate this file and you can use it as you would do any other file. The second thing within community is plugins. So over here, if you jump to plugins, you will see a list of all the different plugins available. So I will give an example of Unsplash, for example. So when you click in, you will see a description of Unsplash and what it does, and you can uninstall and install it from this button right here. So it is really simple to use this plugin. You would simply, so what is Unsplash? Let me hold back. Unsplash is an open source platform to get images. And usually we use unsplash.com, download the image, and then put it in Figma. But when you install the plugin for Unsplash, you can directly create a shape, go into plugins from this menu right here, and select Unsplash. So Unsplash is here for me. And when I select this, a pop-up will open up. So a pop-up opens up and I can select any of these themes. Let me select technology, and then it will automatically fill this image over here. So this is just a way to really automate your workflows a little bit more, make them more fast. And there are so many different plugins. There is Content Reel, which helps you add names, phone numbers, and addresses without having to manually type them. So I will stop there. Fatima will walk you through how she uses components and how plugins can be used there. So I'll pass over to Fatima.
Okay. Do you guys see my screen? Hello? Mm,
It's loading.
okay. 1 second. How about now?
Good, good to go.
Okay. So to understand what components are, imagine you have to create multiple things of the same type. So you will have to ensure the consistency, the basically the spacing, the text format, how bold your text is, what is the size of the text, and everything that you'll have to do will be done manually. So components makes your lives a lot more easier. They are elements that you can reuse across your design. They help you create and manage consistent design across projects. Not only that, it helps you create a single form of something and create multiple replicas of that. And you can taper the replica according to your own needs. So for example, here if you see in the first section, I have a green button. But when here I have the green button, but I want to keep everything constant, the shadow and everything except the color. So I create a component of this so that everything else is consistent rather than creating this one from scratch. And then I just change the color. So here the relationship is more like a parent-child relationship. So there is a parent that is called the master component, and then there are many children components. How it helps you is it helps you within a single file. You can create multiple components and share it across your team. So for example, you are using one kind of button, your whole team can use the same kind of buttons and keep the design consistent. When you do it manually, it will not be as consistent. Forget about having that level of consistency across 5 or 6 people. So components play a huge role there. Some of the examples of component, as I mentioned, was one of the things is buttons. Another is a label sort of a thing. Another one is icons. Say how square, what should be the ideal size of the square, of the icon. So those kind of things are important to keep your design consistent, and it saves you a whole lot of time. So here in this card and in the card below, do you see something similar? The button here and the button here are almost very similar. They have this almost similar spacing around them. Because the text is overflowing, the spacing is adjusted, but the button is almost same, the outline is same, the color is same, just the text is changing. So it would be better idea to create a component of this and have a child of this so that I can just taper my text based on that, and I don't have to redo the stuff again and again. As I mentioned before, there are three major things why you should be using components. It makes your design consistent. You might be thinking that you can do it manually too, but when you are working on a file with 20 different screens and you have 10 different elements, you are bound to have some slight pixels of differences for your margin, for your font size, and imagine changing it everywhere. So for example, once I create a button that has a size 12 and then there are 50 buttons in my layout. If I want, if my manager asks me to change the font size and I go on changing it to 14px, I'll have to do it at 50 different spaces. So it saves you a lot of time. If you have a component, you just change it at the parent and it gets reflected across all your child elements. It supports collaboration and it makes your design consistent, as I mentioned. So there are two aspects of a component. One is the main component. How do you identify which one is the parent when all of them are looking similar? You'll have more like this sort of a icon here that showcases, okay, this one is your parent and the rest will be child events. So this icon, which I actually took a bigger screenshot of, is the representation of it being the main event, main component, and the rest would be the child components. And these child component are also called instances of the parent. Components are used widely across design systems. So if you use some sort of material design or and design or any other design system, there are four major things that has to be kept consistent. One is the color. So basically you are just allowed, if you're using a design system, say for example for Airbnb or Uber, you're just allowed to use their specific palette of colors. Then the typography, sizing and spacing, and imagery. So all these four things can be easily kept consistent through discernible components. Now, let me give you a brief demo of how this works. Do you guys see my screen? Do you guys see the Figma file?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay,
If
so see,
anyone
this is
has any questions, feel free to ask.
yeah, feel free to interrupt, guys. Okay, I'll go ahead. So here in this UI, this is a mobile screenshot of Instacart UI. Do you see any pattern here in the three cards below? They're almost identical and just the text and the image is changing. So I'll try to create components here and I'll try to explain how this works. So let me start off by creating a simple card. So what I'll do is it appears like a rectangle to me. So I'll just draw a rectangle here, say almost of the similar size. So I'll just, okay. Now what I'll do is I'll make it white since it is white. So I'll go to the fill option in the right and I'll make it white. Since these have corner edges, I'll go here like we learned last time and I'll give it say 15. Yeah, 15 sounds good. Then I'll give it a shadow here. Increase the blur to 20. Okay, maybe 10 is good. Okay. So now I have another image here. First, what I'll do is I'll try to construct one of these, and then I'll teach you how to make this as a component. You can make a component of even smaller elements, but I want to show you how this works all together. So I'll create another square here instead of the image that was created. And I hope you remember how Paramita taught you how to create a shape and then fill it with an image. So I'll go to this section, I'll go to plugins like we learned before, and then I'll click Unsplash for stock images. That is a plugin I had pre-installed. I'm waiting for the pop-up to open up. Okay. Okay, fantastic. The pop-up opened up. Now I'll search for vegetables. Say such a relevant picture. Search. Okay, fantastic. Now I'll click on one of it and it will automatically should get filled inside this one. Okay, I got the image, right? And then I'll give it a border radius of 10 again to make it look similar. And then what I'll do is I'll add a text here. So go to the text section at the top, click here and then say Kroger. Another text below this. So I'll change the font weight and font size. Say make it 16 and then font weight should be regular, color a bit more lighter. I'm trying to replicate what's there on the left side. Delivery and then visit 1 hour ago. So Control C, Control V, and then change the text here. Okay. So this one is almost similar to what we have here. Okay. Except the logo that I think we can add anytime else. Now what I'll do is I'll select the whole thing. I'll drag my cursor and I'll select the whole thing. So there are two options now here. Either I can click this icon here. You see this icon I showed you on the slide deck. It says create component. Or what I can do is I can right click here and it says create component. So now I created a component. So this says component one, and if you can see here, there's a tiny logo of that parent component here. Now when I control C and control V and drag this, this is an instance of the component at the top. So when I change this to say, you see it's changing everywhere. If I want to change, say I want to change the size of this and I want to make it 22, it changes at the bottom as well. So this is the advantage of having components. It makes your things consistent. Say I want to change the width of the card. So when I change this also is changing. So I don't have to change it everywhere. It keeps on changing. Now the question here is, I don't want it to be identical, right? So I want to change the image here. So I'll go to Unsplash again, and what I'll do is I'll change this image here. So I say fruits this time. Okay. So this got filled, but see the parent did not get changed. Now if I copy paste this, if I copy paste the parent again, so no child will get affected by if you change a child, its siblings or its parent won't get affected in any way. So basically, if you are making a change to the child element, it will um, just be focused on that child. It won't be affected by the parent or the siblings. But if you are making a change to the parent, only that will be affected by all of the children elements will be affected. So see, this has unique images, while all of these three have unique images while the text remains constant. So if I say Aldi here, no, none of these got affected. But if I change the text delivery here, now if I change Kroger, nothing will get affected because because I didn't change the text here, so it got affected. Otherwise, it didn't get affected because it has the properties of its own. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to change the delivery today, so it gets reflected in all of them. So this is basically how a component works. I hope I was able to give you a bit of a picture of how it works. I think Parumita, will you take it from here and explain how auto layout works?
I
Yes.
kind of have a question actually.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you mind going back to that screen?
Yes.
Yes,
Sure.
thanks. Okay. So when you changed Kroger in the component there, why exactly did the other Kroger change?
Because this Kroger was the replica of this is a child element and this is the parent element.
Right.
And I did not taper with this. Now when I changed it to Kroger plus, say, now this got its unique properties. Now when I change this Kroger, it won't change.
Okay, so every element needs to be modified in the child.
Yeah, if you don't want it to change. If you want it to change, you should not be modifying it. If you want it to change across the whole system, you should be modifying it at the parent level.
Okay, understood. Thanks.
It's like yeah, go ahead.
I just want to add one more thing. So this property works only with changing text within the text box. So if you change Kroger delivery today, the actual text can be modified with each child and parent. And also you can change the images. But if you want to change the text size or the rectangle size, that will only be changed through the parent, and the child will adapt those properties in any case. Like that would be fixed through the parent element. Fatima, if you want to show an example, you can do that.
Yeah, demonstrating.
Yeah, so like how am I changing this? So now I think I changed Aldi here and Kroger plus here. But if I want to change the size of this, say I made 16, all of them became 16.
Okay, I see. It's much clearer
Yeah.
now. Thank you.
You cannot change Aldi's text size from the child element.
Oh, okay.
You see this?
Yes.
Any more questions?
No,
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Now you change Kroger to Audi in one of the child elements, and I'm wondering if the mother element lost control of the Audi one, because now when you want to change the Kroger to Kroger Plus, and the child element won't change, right?
Now, if I change the text here, these won't change. The text exactly has lost control.
Oh, okay. So once you added one of the child, it lost control.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Of the text, of just the text, but not of the properties. So if I want to make it say red, I made all of these red or blue.
Okay. And
okay. Not the property, just the text.
If you change the property of one of the child element, and then it will lose the control from the mother element, right?
Yes, but I highly recommend that you don't do it.
Okay.
Properties should be changed within the parent element only.
Fatima, you can show them that you cannot change color of RD from the child element unless you detach that component.
I think you can, Paramita.
Can you? Okay, sorry.
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
You can, but then you lose. If I change here the color of this, say, now when I change the color of this, it won't happen to RD. You see? Because now the child has gained its own identity. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
Thank you.
Any more questions? This is super interesting, guys, and the more you use it, the more you'll like it. Like if you're creating a web page, any sort of design, any design that you see online is done through components. Nobody does the manual work. Okay, Paramita, you can take it from here.
Okay. I'll go ahead and share my screen again. Let me. Okay. Can you all see my screen? Okay, so let's talk about auto layout. So similar to components, auto layout helps maintain consistency within components and other frames as well. So if you want to create, for example, Fatima created a card and she adjusted the size of the rectangle. So if you want the text to grow and shrink with respect to the size of the card, auto layout really helps you. So it will help you fill in or shrink to fit and then reflow the content with respect to the size of the card. And this is specifically helpful when you're creating buttons or you're creating lists, or you are creating an entire interface composed of auto layout elements. So here are a few examples. So this is a button here, and if I want to change the text length of this button, I would expect that the surrounding spacing adjusts automatically, and this can be done through auto layout. Another one is lists. So if you if you create an auto layout component for example, this element, you can just copy paste and then you can create all these elements together without having to do a lot of manual work. And then also based on this, you can also create cards. So the card that Fatima created can also be created through auto layout. And then the spacing will remain very consistent when you do that. So why use auto layout? The first thing is it really helps team members onboard into a design system. For example, you are joining a company where they have a design system set up. So all you have to do is pick up those components and adjust content, and auto layout will automatically adjust the spacing without having to do manual work. The second reason is it makes your design responsive and dynamic. So as you know, a lot of websites, most of the websites is expected that you have a web version and a mobile version. So auto layout really helps you create those versions without having to do a lot of manual work. So by just adjusting the screen size, the content will automatically flow together to create a mobile version. And finally, again, it saves time in the long run. You don't have to do everything manually. So definitely it's a better option. So how do we use auto layout? I will show a few examples here and then I'll jump into the demo. So this is the section of auto layout. As you can see, there are a few properties that you can change with respect to auto layout. And I will go into each one of them here. So these arrows tell you the direction of the components or the elements that you add. So if you select the down arrow, all the components you add will go on one below the other. So it will go in a vertical direction. And if you select the horizontal one, it will go like this in the horizontal beside each other. So over here, this one is a horizontal example. You copy and paste, and then all the components are going in the right direction. This one is spacing between elements. So this is called the different spacing in between each of these items. So just by adjusting this, look how all these components are changing spacing between. You don't have to go in and adjust each space one by one. It does it automatically for all of them. This is Autolayout Padding. So this button right here shows you the space on each corner. So top, bottom, left, and right. So here for the button example, they changed this and this. See 10, 10, and it automatically changed. So by adding these, the padding will remain consistent and you can change it quickly through Autolayout. Next one is alignment. So this last button right here helps you align your elements to a particular place. So you can see in this GIF, it's going at the top left, top right, bottom left. You can also space them in between and have 3 of them separated. So yeah, like that. Okay, so let's jump into Figma and then I'll give you a little bit of an example of how to do that. So for example, we have these 3 images right here. We will use this section again. So let's select all of these and group them through Command G. Now, when you look at the right, if you can see my cursor, there is an option of auto layout. When you click on plus, you will see all these properties I just talked about, right? So now we have these 3 elements and the arrow is on the right. That is why they are next to each other in a horizontal direction. If I select vertical, these will go at the bottom. And then as you add more components to it, it will keep going to the downward direction. So let's go back and put it in the horizontal direction. Now we have this space. So if I want to adjust, for example, make it 100. All of them came together and now the spacing has decreased, and then I can increase and decrease as I like. Next one is padding. So let's go in here, and now you won't see it because the background is transparent. So I will add a background first. So I'll go into fill, add a white background. Now when I add spacing, for example, I add 100, you can see each side has a margin of 100 pixels. I can also increase it to 400 and it is now a lot more. So now let's see this one. So now you're seeing that each side there is 500 pixels of distance, and this little square here, it shows you the direction. So this is top left, this is middle left, this is bottom left. So you are seeing how these elements are getting adjusted when I change this. Maybe you can't see enough. Let me make it a big number. color, for example. Now, maybe now it'll be better. So now you can see how it's changing according to what I select. All right. So this is a little run through of how you change the settings. Now I will use Fatima's card. Wait. Any questions?
I know this one is a tricky one. This is the right
Yeah.
time to ask questions.
My laptop is going crazy. Okay, so
Any
let
questions?
us,
Yeah.
yeah,
Ahead.
any questions? Okay, I'll create the button and then you will still have time, or you can interrupt me at any time. I'm open to answering any questions. So let's do one thing. I selected this card and make it a little bigger so that I can put my button here. So I select create a rectangle, or maybe I'll not create a rectangle. I'll simply add by vegetables. Okay, now I want this to be in auto layout and I want to create a button. So the first thing I do is I create a frame out of it. So when you right click on this text, you will see an option of frame selection. Now this is a frame. Remember that you can only create auto layout when the elements are in a frame or are grouped together. So frame is there. Now let's add a fill to it. Let's say we add a green button for Instacart. Okay, let's give it a lighter green. So as you can see, it is very packed, does not look like a button. You go into auto layout and you add these properties. Now, the first thing I might want to do is adjust the spacing from the top, the bottom, the left, the right. So now it's starting to look a lot like a button. Maybe not a very pretty one. This green looks a little off. Maybe I'll make it a little light green, change the text color to F, white. Okay, now it looks better. We can also add, again, corner radius. So maybe I add 4 pixels and now it looks a lot like a button. Now, what will be good about this is when you just click buy, the button will automatically adjust to the text. You don't have to do it manually. If you add a bigger button, it will keep going like that. So yeah, that is why auto layout is really helpful. My computer is really slow. I apologize. But yeah, so now one thing that is problematic is when I reduce the size of the button, the text is still going outside. What I want is this text automatically adjusts to the size of this rectangle. So what I can do is when you see this resizing option here, what you do is you select fill the container. So now the button will adjust to the size of the text and the text will adjust to the size of the button. So this way, you'll be able to make adjustments automatically and it won't be any manual effort. Let me change this back to vegetables. So yeah, that's the power of auto layout. I know it's a little bit complicated at first, so we will share more resources where you can refer, but at this time, I'm happy to answer any questions. So please feel free to ask.
We are taking it slow because we want you to ask questions and clarify at this point of time. Because there is so much to cover, we couldn't do a follow along tutorial this time. But we would highly encourage that feel free to ask any questions at this point of time. Okay.
Okay, so next thing is prototyping animation, and I hope that would be a very fun part to do. So eBay will walk you through that, and I will stop sharing my screen.
Is everyone able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So prototyping is the one thing that ties everything together. So with all the little components that we made between screens, now it's finally time to put everything together. So with prototyping, it allows you to create a interactive flow that simulate how a user may interact with your design so that you can see how your app or your website flow will look like from a user standpoint. So why prototype? It first, like I said, help visualize the design before it is built so that any changes can be made before your product is finished. It can also be used to test interactions and receive feedbacks. And lastly, it's a great tool to use to present your design to others. And it's simply easier to look at visually rather than explaining it using words. So how to prototype. The prototyping feature in Figma is super simple. You just click and drag one screen to the other or one component to the other in order to connect. So we'll show you how it works in the demo in a second. And using animation, you can tie different screens together and make the flow a lot smoother and professional looking. To create the animation, you can just open the prototype tab and click on the plus sign next to the interactions and set the interactions details, which I'll show in the demo. And you can see a preview of your animation in a black screen right here before you apply your animation. So smart animation is a feature that is pretty new to Figma, and it's a great tool to use to create advanced animation without having much background in animation or having to do much. So basically it looks for matching layers. So layers that are on the same layer, I guess, and with the same name. It can also recognize the differences and animate that. And I'll show you a few examples. So smart animation can be used for creating loading sequences, sliders, switches, expanding content, hold to refresh, and parallax scrolling. So with these examples, you can see some of the things that Smart Animate can do. So for example, on the left, there's this rotation, and on the right, there's this slider. So all you really need to do is create the two screens shown, and Smart Animate will kind of fill in the animation for you. So without the use of Smart Animation, you can see in the GIF here that this whole screen kind of slides over, including the status bar and the navigation bar. So it's not really realistic, as you don't usually see that in apps that we use from day to day. But with the help of Smart Animation, you can see that only the content that's changing is being switched. And that just looks a lot more professional and more like the apps that we use day to day. So to use Smart Animation, it's also really simple. So following with how to use animation in general, underneath the prototyping tab, there is a checkbox that says Smart Animate Matching Layers. Simply check that and that will apply Smart Animation for you automatically. Okay, so time for a demo. One sec. Okay, are you able to see my Figma screen?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. So with the cards created here, I can show you how to prototype. So on the right, there's a prototype button here. And here I kind of already set it up, but I can show you how I did it. So I want to add a prototyping flow so that when I click on the Kroger, it will navigate to the second screen. So I simply click and drag the plus button to the next screen. So it creates an arrow. And then you can see that there's a little triangle on top, and it just shows the beginning screen of the preview. So it just means that you're starting from this screen. So with that, we can edit what we want it to do. So for example, I want it to be on click. There's also an option of on drag, while hovering, while pressing. And the best way to familiarize yourself with this is just to experiment with different options and see what it does with the preview button on top here. So next is that I wanted this to do navigate to this second screen. And then the animation, I will choose Smart Animate and ease in and ease out. And you can see what it does really quickly in this little preview box right here. And then you can also change the duration if you would like. Here we can make it 500 milliseconds, so it's slower. And we can see what it does in the preview right here. So here you can see that we can click on it because my mouse changed into a little like pointer finger. So when you click on Kroger, it automatically shifts it up, and then the items available page pops open. So that's what the Smart Animate does for you. And then we can also see some other options. So here I want to link the items available to this frame, and the interactions detail automatically pops up. So here I want to do, we're going to do on click again, but this time we can use open overlay, and you can see what it does. So here I chose close when clicking outside and add background behind overlay. We can see what it does in present. So this is the same as before, but now when you click on items available, the frame pops up in front of the previous screen as a background. So that's what open overlay does. It just opens up the frame in front of the previous screen. You can also see scroll to here. You can also see a bunch of different options by trying these different ones, such as on drag, which from what I've experimented with, on drag doesn't work as well because it can't really tell that you're dragging as well when you're on your laptop. So I can't really get this to work right here, but you get the point. The best way, like I said, to experiment with this is just to try out different options and see which one you like the best. And yeah, if you have any questions, please let me know over prototyping animation.
Eva, can you also use the show prototype settings to show how we can add a mobile frame outside this frame?
Yeah, you can select the iPhone SE2 and then go into show prototype settings button. It's in the right prototype column.
Yeah, and then
Device.
device on the top.
Yeah.
Use iPhone SE. Yes. And now if you play it, the
Uh-huh.
whole prototype will appear inside a phone.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that looks a lot more like professional.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Questions? Any questions, you guys? This is the right time to ask. If you want to try out something, can you export a video showing how the prototype works when you're done? Yes. So for that, exporting a video does not work in Figma. So what you'll have to do is you click on the play button and then you turn on the screen recording.
Oh.
And that is the process. Unfortunately, we don't have a complete end-to-end record of the whole interaction flow, and that exported from Figma at this point of time. So what I do for my portfolio or any sort of work is I screen record it and then I convert that into GIF or MP4 if I want to use MP4 or MP3.
You can also share the prototype link. So from the play button, eBay, can you go back to the play? Yeah. So when you click the share prototype button, it will create a link for you, and that is an interactive link. So whoever you
So
share it with,
yeah.
people can click around and play with the prototype. Yeah,
So
Fatima,
if
go ahead.
eBay, you share click on the share prototype,
Uh-huh.
go to the copy link in that pop-up at the bottom. Now the link has been copied, and now if you post it on the Zoom chat, people will be able to open that.
Okay.
And how do you embed these things in a presentation, like you guys did right now?
There are two ways. If you want to use a GIF, then record the whole thing, convert it into GIF, and then embed it. Or what we do generally is add a link and
No, I mean,
then get directed to that link.
yeah, I understood the link thing, but then how do you record the screen? Because I don't think my computer has that function.
You will need separate applications for that. Are you using a Windows or a Mac?
Oh, Windows.
Okay, for Windows, there are multiple options for screen recording. I can send you resources after this. For
Wow.
Mac, there's a by default QuickTime that you can use to screen record. I think there's a snipping tool that has added some functionalities for screen record in Windows, as far as I remember.
Okay, I'll check that out.
Yeah. So you select that sort of that region which you want to record. So you drag your cursor and draw that boundary, and then when you start interacting with the prototype, it starts recording. Let me give you an example of how I do it. Do you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
So what I'll do here is I am here at Figma Advanced Event. I go here and then I'll go to eBay's prototype. So I just click play because I know where the play button is. Now what I'll do here is, okay, this is all set. Now, okay, I don't want the background to be black. So what I can do here is in the prototype settings, I can make the background white as well, or any other color that I really like. So I generally prefer light color. So now this has become light color. So this you can do in the prototype settings as well, where you change the device. Just below that, you have a background option right here. So what I'll do here is I'll go to QuickTime, that is a part of my Mac. There's a different software that you can see for your Windows. Now what I'll do is I'll say here in the top you see it shows me QuickTime player option. Now I'll go to file, I'll go to new screen recording, and I will resize this accordingly of where I want, how much I want it to be recorded. And now I press record. So now when I interact with this, it shows me all those options. Now I'll stop this. So this got recorded. Can you see this?
Perfect.
This is pretty cool.
Yeah. And you can import it anywhere in your document, on a website. That's how designers use it. So I'll show you how I So basically, if you can still see my screen, can you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so all the prototypes on my portfolio here, let me take you to one of my projects. So see, this portfolio GIF on my portfolio is done in the similar way that I just showed you. Screen recorded it and then imported it here. All of this is done in Figma.
So components and auto layout was really helpful for us to create these high level and complex interactions uh, in the prototype that Fatima just shared. So that is why starting off with those building blocks is really important when you want to get into like a huge product design where there's so many screens involved and so many interactions involved. All right, any other questions?
I just wanted to add with respect to the screen recording thing. I think on the Mac you can also press just Shift Command and 5 to record the screen.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
Nice.
So thanks for sharing that.
So there was a major issue at my place, so I just came in, and I'm just wondering how can I access to the recording file of today's session?
Yes. So we are recording the session and it will go up on CWIT's YouTube channel this week or maximum next week. So we will share a follow-up email with the recording link. So you'll have it soon.
Okay, thank you. And also can you share the link that you guys have worked together in the Figma, the web page that lead to the working page?
Yes, we can
Thank
do
you.
that.
Thank you. I actually went to the first Figma class in the basic one and I really liked it. So I was really looking forward to come to today. And then there was a very severe maintenance issue in my place. So I had to get sorted thing. So I came really late. Sorry.
No worries. I hope you are still able to access the recording. And if you have any questions after watching that, we're happy to help you out. So no
Thank you
worries
so
at all.
much.
I had one last question. So, like, how many screens can you work at? Like, how many screens can be there on your one Figma file as in page for it to be able to work smoothly? Or you can have like n number of files, n number of screens.
There's no
Um,
limit.
yeah,
There's no limit. You can have as many screens as you want. You can create as many versions as you want. You can play around as much as you want. So basically, if it's a more, so this what we tried out here was a more complex version. So what I showed
Hmm.
here is a whole desktop application. So for this, if I show you the working document, um, 1 second. So it see these are all the low fidelity prototypes. Then
Hmm.
there are pages here that are divided, and then there are a lot more screens here, if you can see.
mhm,
So there is no limit. Basically, try out different versions. But the main thing is what we taught today was about creating components. So we
Hmm.
created actually a component for this whole thing so that we don't have to change the menu everywhere. So if you want to change
yeah,
the, say for example, if you don't want the calendar section now, I don't want to go to say
each
one,
and
two,
every
three, four. How
screen.
many screens are there here? Like easily there are
Yeah.
some 15, 20 screens. So I don't want to change it everywhere. So what I'll do is I'll go to my main parent component and change it here. So once I change it here, it gets changed everywhere.
Got it.
Yeah, as you can see, we have components for literally everything. We have it for our sign up buttons and we have it for our icons, cards, buttons,
So we created
menu
a
bar,
component. Yeah. Now when I change the join here, it will reflect in all of these
all the
cards here.
buttons.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to add, since Figma has an infinite canvas, you can make as many screens. The only thing that will help you is creating frames for each screen, so you have a limited boundary within which you're working. Okay, I think it's the right time to share our feedback link. This is what helps us create nice events that are helpful to you all. So we shared the link in the chat, and there's also a QR code that you can scan. It will be really helpful if you can give us feedback and let us know what next event you want to, um, come to, or what do you want to learn in the next event. Happy to know that in the chat as well. So feel free to let us know.
Scan the QR code and give us feedback. That helps us keep on going and helps us tailor the events based on what you need.
And yeah, like if you want to come off mute, do tell us what you want to learn next. I think that will really help us plan our next event.
I have a
I would,
question.
sorry.
Is it would you do this like every single week?
We have 2 events every month, so that's the timeline we're looking at.
Okay. What should I do to receive the reminding email for your activity?
We can share the link to the sign up mailing list in the chat. And when you sign up, you will receive emails about the events that CWIT conducts, and you'll find the web design events in it as well.
Okay.
If you're on Instagram, we do a lot of promotion before our event on Instagram. So from there, you can also find our events. We are the web design team. So if you're specifically looking to web design events, you can just filter based on that from Instagram.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Just
I would
share
like
the
to
mailing
add.
list link. Yeah, Sejal, go
Yeah,
ahead.
go ahead.
So yeah, like this is super helpful because I'm very, very new to Figma. Uh, like I wanted to say with respect to like the events y'all said y'all would like to conduct. So uh, is like prototyping completely done in Figma, or do y'all use like external softwares to prototype as well? And if yes, like which? And I would love to know if y'all could teach those also.
So I think for prototyping, most of the prototyping, even the basic to medium level, you can, even advanced level, you can do in Figma.
Mm-hmm.
What you can't do is say we are prototyping for AR, augmented reality, or say you're doing it for virtual reality. For that, you'll have to switch to Adobe After Effects. But all the screens that I showed you right now for my personal projects, every single thing was done in Figma. Not even
Okay, so
one
you
thing
don't
was
need
out.
to refer to external softwares like Protopie and all of those.
No. So that is the whole power of Figma. I think previously we had Sketch and then you had to import it to Zeppelin,
Mm.
create hotspots. We had 4 different softwares to do the same thing. Figma has combined everything. Figma has become so powerful that the companies are migrating to Figma because they just have to pay the license for one single software. Prototyping can be done here, documentation can be done here, developer handoff can be done here. So there is a section where you can developers can see the CSS code for whatever the components are there. So you don't have to do anything.
That's great. Also, like, is there like a software? No, I think it's one of Adobe's software which you use for animation also.
After Effects.
After Effects, sorry, I forgot. So, do
Um,
y'all use that as well?
So I would say, piggybacking off of Fatima, most of the basics prototyping is possible in Figma. But if you want to create complex micro animations,
Mhm.
then After Effects is a good tool. And also, as she said, AR or VR, that is when After Effects come into play. So let me share an example. Can you all see my screen? So you see this animation? So usually if you want to create these kind of complex micro interactions, that is when After Effects might be more helpful. So I created this one specifically in After Effects, but when you're doing prototyping to just show concepts or discuss it with your team, usually you might not need this advanced level of prototyping. So that is all achievable in Figma. And protopy is also a similar tool for doing those micro interactions, as you just said.
Okay. Thank you.
But mostly for product designers, you don't, unless you're working in AR, VR, or some specific domain, you don't need it. Figma
Yeah.
trumps everything.
I think motion designers are like different roles that who would use these advanced softwares, but for us as product designers, we don't need it
Actually, good to know that you don't have to learn so many and just learn one, which is Figma.
for sure.
Okay, I might have to jump to another meeting. Thank you all for being here. It was an amazing event, and thank you for all your questions. We hope to see you in our next event. We'll be talking
Yes,
more about design systems there.
yes. We will be hosting a panel where people from IU studios working with design systems and information architecture will come and answer questions and talk about design systems. So be on a lookout. We'll share details soon on mailing lists, Instagram, and social media. So yeah, look forward to seeing you all again. Thank you for coming today. Bye. Take care.